Good morning, everyone. Well, I guess it could be evening where you're at, late at night, afternoon, midday. But whatever time you happen to be listening to this podcast, it is another great episode of the MLO Project. I am your host, Frazier. Welcome. If this is your first time, if you're returning, thank you for coming back. Thank you for support. And joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. McAllister. Michael, what's up, buddy?
What's up? I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it
this morning.
I mean, it sounds like you're super excited to be here. Like,
yeah,
that energy level is like 2. So
it's just my tone. My body's moving.
What does a 10 sound like for you? Let me what is a 10 like on your energy scale? Is 10 like a little too crazy? Because you're saying you're excited now.
For sure. I temper it for sure.
All right. So 10, he's like running through wall. He's like that little that girl. I don't know if you guys ever remember that like gif of like the family like partying and everyone's excited for Happy New Year, and that girl takes the punch bowl and just freaking smashes it on the ground, and she's like yelling. All right, that's Michael. That's Michael out of 10. That's Michael out of 10.
It's getting too many report cards as a kid of like good in all areas except for staying on task, not distracting other kids, like the ADHD typical story. Like I think that's kind of dampened my energy levels a little bit sometimes, but we're here, we're excited, my body's moving, I'm ready to go, man.
All right, awesome. And guys, look, it's funny when I started, I was like realizing when I said good morning, I'm like, oh, because we record these. I think we said this before, but we record these every Friday morning, and so like I was just like in the moment, like, hey, good morning, everyone. Even though like you guys are gonna listen to this whenever, but we have a great episode. We have a fiery episode for you today, and just because as of this recording, obviously, we just had a week of a lot. Right. A lot for the country. We had the anniversary of September 11th. We had the tragedy in Utah with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We had the bus thing in North Carolina with
the Ukrainian refugee.
With the Ukrainian refugee. I mean, like just a lot. Gosh. And I don't know if that was this week, but it was within the last like week.
The footage I believe was released last week. It was the 23rd, August 23rd that it happened, but it took a couple weeks for the CCTV footage to come out, and that's when people got loud about it.
So it's a lot, right? And obviously that. So today we're going to be talking about the media, right, and the messaging, because there's a lot of things here, and we also and guys, look, we're not here to just because people are like, all right, I don't want to hear about this, guys. We're not talking about what you think we're talking about, but we are talking about it as it pertains to the mortgage industry, because there's also another story that happened this week that kind of goes to the whole overarching point of what we're talking about, headlines and media and clicks and all that other stuff. So we're going to get into all of that. But, guys, look, at the end of the day, the media is not for your interest. It's for their self-interest, right? So just remember that, like, the media, and I don't care whether it's like the media within the mortgage industry, if it's media, and I'm not talking about like just like publications, right? I'm talking about like social media too, right? Like every individual, quote unquote thought leaders and experts and whatever.
Anybody who makes money off of attention.
Exactly. Right? Anybody that makes money off of attention. And guys, look, we have to include ourselves in that boat too. So it's not like we, Michael and I are above that. But I would argue that we always have the view of trying to do, what's right, first. But ultimately, the media is going to do what's right and best for them first. And so you have that in the mainstream. We've seen that, this week with, like I said, 9/11 and Charlie Kirk and the Ukrainian refugee, all of those stories and the media and the headlines. And the problem is that we're mostly a nation of headline readers, right? We read the headlines. Those are the hooks. In marketing, it's marketing 101, suck them in, grab their attention, stop the scroll. But then you have to get into the substance of what they're saying. And ultimately, media doesn't care about the substance, right? They don't care whether you see the substance or not. They only care that you share their content, you share their articles, they get their clicks, they get their traffic for their advertisers, their sponsors, and all that other stuff. And this isn't new. Like, this isn't just a this week thing, but this is everyone. And so, so one is understanding that everything, it's, like that trust but verify, right? Like, read the headlines and whatnot. But this, and guys, I have, even though this is something I've been preaching for years, sometimes I too get caught up and I share something because it's from a reputable source or from someone that I've trusted or whatever. And then fortunately they got cut up too. And what happens is then it becomes the telephone game. And then I share something that isn't factual. So I've got caught up in it too. So I am also to blame every now. I don't think I've done that in a while, but I've done it before. And so no one's like out of bounds on this stuff. So I just want to make that clear. But ultimately we become a nation of headline readers. We don't go in for the substance. We look for something that kind of, validates our own worldview and how our opinions are things of. And the problem is that it's going to cause problems one way or another. And I'll get into a very relevant story that happened this week. And by the time you're hearing it, you'll have already seen a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. As of the recording, nobody knows about this, but a few people. But we're going to get into that today. So Michael, like, what are your thoughts on like not reading the substance, the headlines, like kind of all the stuff that we just kicked off with?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we saw the last week in the tragedies now, like the 9/11, obviously happened long enough ago that it's hard for us to point to it's hard for us to point to like divisiveness as the source of that. But as far as the other two, other two stories that we talked about, the Charlie Kirk assassination, the bus, like what, like, or the who's on the train in Charlotte, like what happened to that, the Ukrainian refugee on the train in Charlotte, like both of those could 100% be tied to and honestly, like if you want to go the other side of this too, like I did a little bit of research and digging because I had enough like mentions of this in my timeline into the political violence against the Minnesota, the politicians in Minnesota from a couple months ago, right? You had a guy dress up as a cop and go around and he ended up killing at least, I think, 2 and injuring another 2 in an attempt to assassinate them. And it was 100% politically motivated. And so like why this kind of tied into what we're talking about today to me is because the fact that like the end result, I guess, is what I want to point to of buying into the clickbait and succumbing to the echo chambers that get created when we click on headlines, share stuff without like reading the substance, without considering the source. Like what ends up happening, and I have a friend of mine that posted this on one of my Facebook posts this week that was just like a reminder. I don't want to say a wake-up call because I think it's something that we've all kind of like talked about before. There was a documentary on Netflix that came out a few years ago that kind of put it into perspective for a lot of people, the like just the psychological effect that clickbait and like continuous feedback loops of just continuing to see stuff that makes us click because clicks make money. And then we just get fed more and more and more and more of that. And what ends up happening is we have a worldview that is completely disconnected from reality. And so like, I think like the references to those 2 events in the last week, like tragedies in the last couple weeks, the references to that is like, that's what happens when we allow ourselves to be puppeted by the media, to be like toyed with by the media. And again, like it's not hard to see. It's not some grand conspiracy. It's all about money. It's all about money. That's what I said earlier. Like those who are monetizing attention. Yes, we're monetizing attention. How do we do it? We do it in a very niche, like we do it by serving like a very niche audience. But when you're doing this on a grand scale, when you're a national media company, or you're a national a social media company, an international social media company like Facebook or whatever, like they 100% are compensated based on the amount of attention that they can get, the amount of time that you spend consuming their content. How do they do that? With sensational headlines that feed like whatever predisposed biases you already have in your head, and it just creates this like circular effect where we basically, like, the left and the right today live in two completely different worlds because we just continue to consume the shit that we consume, and big companies, big media companies and social media companies are raking in billions off of that attention. And so, like, to me, that the conversation and the connection between like what this episode is actually about and those tragedies is, the tragedies are like the end result, the potential potential impact of not criticizing and not drawing attention to like how manipulative the media and social media companies, their algorithms can be on our minds and on our psyches. And so I think it's super important. We've got an example like on a smaller scale of like a smaller scale within our industry of like where we see this kind of happening. And I think it's important to call it out because we've seen in the last couple of weeks, we've seen exactly where that kind of behavior can lead. And now obviously it's, you know, what we're talking about has a much lesser impact, but like at the end of the day, like the conversation's got to start somewhere. The conversation about like getting away from like bending the truth or presenting one side of the truth to generate clicks and to generate income for a media or a social media company. Like we've got to have that conversation, and it starts with our microcosms and our niches, and within our niche, like, you know, we saw an example, or I've heard about of an example now, and I know that the audience is going to be seeing an example of this over the next couple of weeks. And so, yeah, that to me was like the tie-in, and why I feel like this was an important conversation for us to have is just I genuinely feel that what happened specifically with Charlie Kirk, what happened with the politicians in Minnesota on the opposite side of the aisle, I genuinely feel like that's the result of this business model of monetizing attention at any cost, regardless of what's factual and what's not.
Yeah, and those are great points, man. You know, especially the manipulation part, and so, you know, I get kind of taking this back to the industry, like I mentioned in the lead in, is that we have a kind of a right on message to this, and so so this week, actually, as of this recording, I think it was like less than 24 hours ago, HousingWire put out an article, and the headline, and I'm looking at it right now, is that, just to make sure I didn't get anything
Not to name
wrong.
names, but
Not well. I mean, it's people know, people saw it. Like, I'm not sitting here like, you know, it could be it could have been, you know, National Mortgage Professional, it could have been Mortgage News, whatever, it could have been anyone, but it happened to be HousingWire, and HousingWire put out the headline: HUD terminates equity prime mortgages, FHA lending. Right. And
Jesus.
so, yeah, right. It's absolutely not the case, by the way. Right. And so I knew about this already, right? Because, you know, I'm a former EPMer, right? And so, you know, so that, you know, they're still, you know, part of, you know, the fam. And so, you know, I was talking with Eddie Perez this morning. And so they're, you know, as you're listening to this, you've already probably seen their, you know, Eddie came out with a press release, EPM came out with a press release, addressing the misinformation, and you know, actually came out swinging against HousingWire. And but, you know, and I see the point. I get it, because, you know, the headline, now people are like, well, the headline's kind of accurate. Well, it is accurate to a point, but it's like, if I'm reading this, and here's the point, like, not only that I see the headline, but then I saw the subsequent posts in Facebook groups, just on Facebook. I saw it all over the place, where people were sharing that, like, well, hey, where am I going to send my FHA? Where am I going to send loans to now that now that EPM can't do FHA? Right. So,
well, the article was a HousingWire Plus article, right? So like you didn't even have the ability, unless you're paying HousingWire, you don't even have the ability to get the full truth.
And so good point, good call out, right? So like that, so that's another problem, is that, like, that's the headline, right? So again, nation of headline readers, we look at the headline, that's the hook. You know, again, that's marketing 101, advertising 101, draw in their attention, get them to click. Obviously, you know, HousingWire wants people to, you know, subscribe, so that's why they gate their content. That's how they make their money, guys. Like, come on, Like we all know the game, right? So ultimately, and they're no different than other media publications either, right? Like that same thing. Sponsors, advertisers, the whole deal. Like we get the game. But the point is that you can get it. And then if you look at kind of like, the sub headline is like, it just says it's their credit watch termination, which monitors mortgage lenders' performance. What you didn't know, and what most of the people posting out there didn't know, is the fact that this wasn't. It's not a nationwide. They can't terminate FHA, right? There is I want to say it's a handful or less of states, but it's not even the whole state. It's just certain counties within a handful of states that they can't do FHA loans in because of their credit watch. And a lot of people in the industry know about like the neighborhood watch scores and all these other different things, these metrics that the industry has to look at performance of loans and lenders to make sure that everything's above board, right? And so guys, look, EPM does a lot.
I don't understand that piece a little bit. I want to get clarification on that. So it's like, is it just that there were like a higher delinquency rate?
Exactly.
Higher within these counties?
Exactly. A higher delinquency rate of certain loans. They look at who originates the loans from a lender perspective. And then they make their be like, that's how some people like, if you have like who was it? There was a couple, I don't even know the lenders' names, but like, I want to say it was within the last year, there was one lender that, for I think like a couple months or a month couldn't do VA loans, so this happens when they look at delinquency rates, or sometimes it's fraud. And this has nothing to do with fraud or anything like that, or that these loans didn't qualify. But the thing is that HUD and other regulatory bodies, when they look at this, they just look at the data. They don't look at the fact that like all the other outside control pieces like higher home insurance rates, right, and things going on with it. So they don't look at the whole as that like when they originated these loans, they qualified, right? And then something happens to the borrowers, and then you have a low qualification. Plus EPM has made it a mission to help as many people as possible, right? So meaning some lenders will only originate in certain credit boxes, and EPM has been known to do the tough loans, to do the people that really need the help in the underserved communities. And so like those clients, if you look at the data, tend to not perform on average when you're looking at the whole, right? I'm not saying it's always the case, but I'm just saying when you have economic pressure, then that's what tends to happen. Right? Because why? They don't have all the savings and the money and the and the income and the resources to overcome some of those like other higher income segments, right? So that again, it's what it is. So so EPM basically had to fight all day yesterday to fight against the narrative that people were spreading that EPM could no longer do FHA loans. Now the problem is that you might say, well, that's like, hey, I get it from a lending because it's business, it's money coming in. Yeah, that's one part of it. But what I also saw in the comments are people that are like this is like stuff that they're already talking to their clients about, right? Thinking that like the loan that they just registered wasn't going to close, or they talk about like, oh, well, now I don't know what I'm going to tell my client because I was going to send it to EPM or this or that. So like this also has downstream implications because people that are currently, because brokers don't want to be in a position to where like they can't do what they were doing and already down the road in a process on a loan, right? No one wants to be in that position. So like this just caused a ripple effect of communication, emails. And then what happens is that then like EPM's just trying to do their normal course of business, right? And then like they got a flood of fighting fires now, because now all these brokers that are originating loans with them are like, oh, does this mean the loan falls out, right? This is the problem when you have a headline like that and no substance or no real way to get substance other than the lender. So obviously EPM was not happy about that, right? Like they didn't think it was a fair and balanced approach to what was really going on, right? Not to use the the Fox headline, but like they didn't feel it is. So they came out as of, well, they haven't come out with it yet. Like I saw it, you know, before anyone else did, but I saw the press release and you know, and it's got some, as you're listening to this, you guys have probably already read it or watched the video with Eddie and all that other stuff. And you know, it's got some fire in it, right? Like, you know, they came out fighting because that's what EPM does. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I think they have valid concerns about, you know, like headlines and the importance that media gets it right. Right. And so I think, you know, the reason why we wanted to do this video is because, like, I know we're talking about HousingWire and other like media outlets, but just remember when you're on LinkedIn, like everyone's got a freaking agenda. You know what I mean? Like, so all the thought leaders, all the guys that are playing the algorithm game right now, and you see their post, you know, I'm talking about it. And guys, don't get me wrong, I'm not casting shade on these guys at all. But the point is that all of them have an agenda too, right? They have headlines, sensationalism, all that stuff, some crazy images, and then you go and read it. And then you realize that ultimately it's in their self-interest of what they're putting out there and not necessarily the interest. And I'm not saying it's always that way, right? Just like when I put out content, sometimes it's in my own self-interest. Now, I always hope that I lead with value and so that there is going to be something there. But if I'm trying to get someone to like, hey, like come to Fuse, right? Or hey, join HL4, or hey, check out, you know, our coaching or whatever it is, right? Like I'm not selling like snake oil. I'm out there just saying, hey, I think this could help loan officers. I have the proof that it helps loan officers. I have the reviews. I have the testimonials, right? Just like, you know, just like we had to, you know, here and everywhere else that we're doing, right? Like there's value there for the end audience, but the self-interest is like, yeah, I want people to come to this, right? This is what I'm trying to do as a marketer and someone that focuses on growth. But at the same time, a lot of other people don't really care about whether it's in your interest or not. They just care about their self-interest because then they're going to, because no one knows about like article by article. What's going to happen is people at like the end of the month are going to say, this is how many clicks I had. This is like how much, like, oh, like look at like the consolidation, even though it was like that one post where they said like the sky is red and, you know, you suck if you believe otherwise. Right. Because that was a very divisive comment or whatnot. And then like, you know, and then that's where all the clicks and traffic came from, right? And that's what gets put out there. So it's one of those trust but verify moments when it comes to media today. And so the message that, and the takeaway that we want you to have is that one, you got to go past the headlines, right? You gotta go past the headlines, right? Like stop and check it out, but like go into the substance, and then also ask yourself, like, what is the end game for this article or this social media post, or the end game for that? Like, is there really something there, or is someone just trying to get eyeballs? And everyone's playing that game right now. And that's tough. And that's like, as someone that's coaching loan officers, I tell them, I said, you're going against a lot of that stuff. And by human, and we could all blame social media and all that other stuff. And yes, there's certain elements. I'm never come from the point of blaming the tool for human behavior, but the tools have made it a lot easier for humans to be crappy to other humans, right? Or to put their self-interest above others, right? And that's human nature. That's not an I mean, obviously that's just a problem in general, but that's not a media problem. Media just doesn't help when it comes to human nature. And so we have more of that going on. And the problem, the overarching problem with that, other than the ones that we've already identified, is the fact that it's going to take you off your game. It's going to take your focus away from what you really need to be doing as an originator, which is serving your communities, serving consumers, and helping and continue to be an important pillar that stands up this economy, right? That actually makes things move in this country. And that's a big thing. Like all of you guys have a very big responsibility at large, right? And yes, we make a lot of money. And yes, it's a great business to be in. And yes, there's all of those things too. But ultimately, all of this other nonsense just takes your eye off the prize, right? Which is building an incredible business for each other, making an impact, building wealth for others, right? And changing generations of a family, because you're able to put them in a good spot for them to build wealth.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a conversation. You know, to build on that last point. At the end of the day, this is a conversation about personal accountability and like how do we tie. You know, may feel like we're throwing shade at the media. It may feel like, you know, we're talking about a problem that's not easily solved. And we are like, it's not a problem that's easily solved. Why? Because we're in a capitalist society, and like media companies make money, and they're going to do what media companies do to make money. And that's not a problem that's going to like fix itself or get better all of a sudden. Like at the end of the day, there's a conversation about personal accountability, and the personal accountability that you have is to not get sucked up in it, not get swept up and sucked into or swept up in the headlines, the sensationalism, to focus on, like Fraser said, focus on like your role in this crazy world. And your role is to like build the dream of homeownership, deliver the dream of homeownership. And so stay focused on that. Don't get swept up in the bullshit. And know that like everybody's got an agenda, including us. And your role is to like have that agency and have that personal accountability to like dig deeper and not get swept up into things.
Yeah, no, that's a great wrap, man. And look, just to drive that point home is that yes, of course we have agenda, but we strive to give way more in value than when we take in any type of payment or ask, right? It's more give than it is ask, because we want to do things the right way, right? We want to do things the right way. Are we perfect? No, but we want to do things the right way. And if we look at it, like if you want it to not be that way, the only thing that's ever going to matter is your attention, right? Because that's the capital that all media, not just mainstream media, not just the media publications in our industry, but also the people on social media, right? All that attention is capital for them, right? So guess what? If you know someone that's all they're doing is just putting out that type of stuff, then don't read it. Don't post on it. Because then you're going to hurt their analytics, right? Don't read the magazine articles. Don't click on this. Don't click on it, right? Yeah, and again, it's hard. It's human nature. We're like, we want to see the car accident, right? That's why everyone slows down, even though it's not stopping traffic, right? But more traffic is caused by people sticking their heads out the window and wanting to look at the aftermath than actually just do what they need to do to get to their location. So actually I was talking about that. It's actually a good analogy, right? You're on the freeway. Don't stop to look at the cars on the side of the road. Keep your eye on your destination, on where you're going. And if you want to see less and less of that, stop giving them your attention, right? And that's because that's the only thing that's going to matter. It's the only thing that's going to matter, because that's going to hurt their analytics. It's going to hurt their wallets, whatever it happens to be. Right. And so it really, the power is up to you on what you want to do it. And I'm not perfect. I know, Michael, I'm sure both of us will click on those from I try not to, but like, from time to time. But now's the time to get focused. Now is the time to get focused in this industry. There's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of noise, a lot of distraction. And now is the time to batten down the hatches and settle in for the rough seas ahead. And or the rough seas we've continued to have, but not, like, guys, look, this is the time to focus. So don't get distracted by the nonsense. Awesome. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I got the head shake from Mike, and he said like, we're good. Right. Like I got like the little eyebrow, like little eyebrow raises. We're good. All right, my friends. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us a review, share it out. We hope you share this one out, because I think this is a message that everyone is. So that's our ask. We don't really like hit you in the face with, sharing the show or giving us a ratings. Of course we want that stuff, but this is an important episode. So I think if this message resonated with you, share this out, right? Share this out, tag Michael and I, and help us get the MLO project to more people, and let us know, how can we, bring more relevant content to you. We always appreciate the feedback. But guys, give us a rating, review, share the show. Let us know how we can do more to make the MLO project an important part of your week. And till next time, I am Fraser on behalf of Mr. McAllister. This is the MLO project, empowered by Empower LO, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.